The alien warship floated above the burned sky of the colony world. Its massive body blocked the sun and cast a shadow over the human camp. Every soldier on the ground could feel the weight of that shadow. It was not only metal pressing on their hearts, it was arrogance. It was the laugh of an empire that believed it could never be defeated. Among the humans stood Captain Rian, a man with calm eyes and a strange smile. In his hands, he held a weapon so small that even his own men doubted it. It was a simple black gun, smooth and compact, almost like an antique pistol from Earth's old days. The weapon looked fragile compared to the shining plasma rifles of the aliens. Facing him was Commander Vera, leader of the alien fleet. She was tall, her scales glittered in green light, and her 4 arms carried power blades that hissed with energy. Her voice echoed across the field as she laughed at the sight of the human's tiny gun. Is this what humanity brings to war? A child's toy? A little stick you call a weapon? The alien soldiers behind her roared with cruel laughter. Their teeth shone, their voices shook the ground. They believed the battle was already won. They believed the human captain was a fool walking into his own grave. But Rian did not move. He did not shout. He did not answer her insult. He only raised the small weapon slowly, letting the sunlight reflect on its simple surface. His silence was louder than any words. The alien commander sneered. Tell me, human, how many of us do you think you can kill with that little tool? Her eyes narrowed, waiting for a reaction. But Ryan's voice was calm, steady, almost too quiet for such a battlefield. Enough, he said. The laughter grew louder. Alien soldiers doubled over, some beating their tails on the ground as they mocked him. They had faced human weapons before. Heavy cannons, missile launchers, warships with loud engines, but never something so laughable. To them, this was a joke, a scene to enjoy before the slaughter. Ryan's men, standing behind him, exchanged nervous glances. Some clenched their fists, others bit their lips. They knew their captain well. He was never careless, never foolish. If he stood calm in front of the alien commander, then something was hidden. But still, doubt crept into their hearts. Could that small gun really protect them? The wind shifted, carrying dust across the field. The sky rumbled with thunder, though no storm was near. It felt like the world itself was holding its breath. Vera stepped closer, her forearms spreading wide. Do you not fear death, human? She hissed. You stand before the might of the Empire, and all you carry is that tiny piece of metal. You insult us with your weakness. Rian looked at her without blinking. His voice was calm, but every word carried weight. Never judge a weapon by its size, Commander, for you may not see what lies beneath. The alien paused for a moment, confused by his words. Her soldiers shouted again, calling for blood, calling for his head. They wanted to see this human crushed into dust, but Rian's tone had cut through their noise like a hidden blade. The small gun in his hand remained steady, not trembling, not shaking, as if it belonged to him as much as his own heartbeat. And yet, there was something strange about it. Strange lights flickered faintly along its surface, patterns that were too complex for alien eyes to understand. The commander leaned down, her face close to his. You dare threaten me with a toy? She whispered, her voice filled with anger. Rian only gave her a thin smile. It is not the toy you should fear, he answered. It is the hand that holds it, and the ground you stand upon. The alien blinked, taken aback. Her soldiers fell silent for the first time, sensing something was wrong. The air grew heavy, as though the soil below was alive. The laughter that once filled the camp began to fade, replaced by unease. But still, Vera forced a mocking smile. You speak in riddles, human? You think words will save you? Her voice trembled slightly, though she tried to hide it, and for the first time doubt flickered in her eyes. Rian lowered the small weapon slightly. He looked at the ground, then back at her, and with quiet certainty, he said, You should not have laughed. The wind roared suddenly, tearing through banners and shaking the alien weapons. The ground beneath them shivered, a deep sound rumbling from far below. The alien soldiers froze, their laughter gone, replaced by fear. Something was moving. Something was waking up beneath their feet. Ryan's men straightened their backs, their fear now replaced by a spark of hope. They understood now. The gun was not the weapon, it was the key. And in that moment, everyone knew. This was not the end of the story. This was only the beginning. The silence after the laughter was heavier than any noise. The alien commander Vera narrowed her glowing eyes at the human captain. For the first time, her arrogance was tested. The ground still trembled faintly under her feet, a reminder of the strange warning he had given. Her soldiers shifted uneasily, their tails curling, claws scraping against the dirt. They whispered among themselves, wondering if the human's words carried truth. Still, pride chained them. They refused to believe a single man with a small gun could shake the empire. Enough riddles, Vera spat, her voice sharper now. You stand before the blade of the empire, show us your so-called strength, or die here like the insect you are. Captain Rian did not flinch. He looked around, meeting the eyes of his soldiers. They were tired, bruised, their hope nearly broken. But when they saw his steady hands, something inside them reignited. He raised the small gun again, but this time he did not aim at her. He turned it toward Ba. The barren ground. The alien soldiers sneered, their confidence returning. Is he going to shoot the soil? One mocked. He has lost his mind, another growled. But before they could laugh again, Rian pulled the trigger. No sound of bullet, no flash of fire, only a low hum, deep and endless like the roar of a giant awakening. The ground shook harder, cracks split across the battlefield, dust burst into the air, and the alien warriors stumbled back in alarm. What trick is this? Vera shouted, her voice cutting through the fear of her soldiers. She wanted to appear strong, but her legs trembled. She had fought 100 battles, faced enemies with cannons, fleets, and nuclear storms. But never had she seen the earth itself answer a human weapon. Rayan's voice was calm, yet cold as iron. You thought this was a toy. You thought humanity was weak. But you never asked why I came here alone, why I carried only this. The cracks widened, and a glow of red light seeped from below. It was not lava, it was metal, massive and ancient, rising from the hidden depths. Alien soldiers gasped. Some dropped their weapons. Something buried was climbing out of the earth, and its size was beyond anything they had ever seen. Vera raised her blades, trying to control her army. Hold your ground. It is a human trick, just machines. They cannot defeat the Empire. Her voice cracked with anger, but her eyes betrayed fear. Her scanners tried to lock on the rising shape, but the signals failed. The machine carried a code older and stronger than alien technology could read. The shape became clear, a colossal war machine, hidden under the soil of this world for decades. Its armor gleamed black and silver. Its cannons were like towers. Its eyes burned with crimson fire. It was not a weapon made for battle alone. It was a monster, a fortress, and a judgment all at once. The human soldiers stared in awe, their despair replaced by unshakable belief. They now understood why their captain had come with only a small gun. That gun was not the weapon. It was the key to unlock the monster. Alien soldiers roared in panic. Some tried to flee, others raised their rifles. But before they could fire, the machine's chest opened and a pulse of energy swept across the field. Alien weapons fried in their hands, circuits burning, metal melting. One by one, their rifles turned to useless junk. Vera's fury exploded. You dare bring such a thing against me, she screamed. You will regret this, human. Her voice was strong, but her claws shook as the giant machine stepped forward, shaking the ground with each movement. Rian lowered the small gun and looked at her. Regret? He asked softly. You mocked what you did not understand. You laughed at what you could not see, and now you will learn why humanity is never to be underestimated. The alien soldiers were frozen between fear and shame. Some shouted for retreat, others screamed for orders. The once proud army that mocked the human now stood like prey before a predator. Vera tried to rally them, lifting her blades high. We are the Empire. We do not bow to tricks. We fight. We conquer. But even as she shouted, her voice cracked under the weight of the monster's shadow. The colossal war machine raised its first cannon. The hum of power filled the air, louder than thunder, sharper than any blade. Every creature on that battlefield knew what was coming. The balance of power had shifted. The challenge had begun. Rian's eyes never left Vera. His voice was steady, carrying across the battlefield like a final warning. This is only the beginning, Commander. The real war starts now. And as the machine's first shot gathered light, the world itself seemed to hold its breath. Every soldier, human and alien alike, understood one truth. This was no longer a battle of weapons. It was a battle of pride, of survival, and of the future. The glow from The giant machine's cannon grew brighter. The alien soldiers shielded their eyes as the light pierced the battlefield. For the first time in centuries, the Empire's warriors felt small. Their arrogance began to wither under the shadow of something beyond their understanding. Captain Rian stood calm, his small gun lowered at his side. He did not need to shout, did not need to command. The monster rising behind him spoke louder than any voice. It was humanity's hidden answer to centuries of humiliation. Commander Vera gritted her teeth, her forearms trembling with fury. She could not allow her soldiers to see fear in her face. If they saw weakness in their leader, the entire army would collapse. So she raised her power blades high and screamed, "Attack! Destroy it before it fires." Her soldiers obeyed, though hesitation lingered in their steps. Lines of alien warriors raised plasma cannons and railguns. They unleashed a storm of fire that lit the skies with green and blue light. Bolts of energy tore through the air. Explosions shook the ground. The battlefield became a burning ocean of color. But when the smoke cleared, the machine still stood. Its black armor glowed faintly, absorbing the impact. Not a single scratch marked its surface. The alien soldiers gasped, some dropping to their knees in disbelief. The war machine moved, its massive head tilting downward. Its crimson eyes glared at the alien army like a predator choosing its prey. The cannon roared, releasing a single blast of red energy. The sound was like the cracking of a planet. The beam tore across the field, slicing through alien ranks as if they were paper. Hundreds vanished in the flash. Their weapons turned to ash. The ground itself split open, leaving a smoking scar stretching far into the horizon. Alien voices screamed in terror. Some tried to run. Others froze in shock. The Empire's pride shot Ishurashi. Stirred in a single strike, Ryan's soldiers stood rooted in awe. Their despair was gone, replaced with fire in their hearts. They now believed this was the turning point. Humanity was not weak, not broken. It had been waiting, hiding, preparing for this moment. Vera roared in anger, forcing her soldiers to regroup. "Do not run, stand and fight. We are the Empire. We cannot bow to humans." But her voice carried less power now. The army she commanded no longer looked at her with faith. They looked at the human captain, the man who had summoned the monster. Rian's voice cut through the chaos, calm but deadly. "I warned you, Commander. I told you not to laugh. I told you not to mock, but you chose pride over wisdom, and now you will pay." The alien commander's scales darkened with rage. She charged forward, her four blades blazing with energy. She aimed not at the machine, but at Ryan himself. "Coward, you hide behind machines. Face me with your own strength," she screamed. Her speed was terrifying. Her blades hissed through the air like storms. Human soldiers shouted in alarm, but Rian did not step back. He raised the small gun once more, pointing it calmly at her chest. A single shot rang out. Not fire, not plasma, but a pulse of energy that struck her like a hammer. Her body froze in mid-attack. Her blades halted inches from Ryan's face. She staggered back, eyes wide with disbelief. The gun was no ordinary weapon. It was connected to the machine. Every shot it fired carried the will of the monster below. It was not a toy. It was a master key. And now it had marked her. Vera screamed, slashing wildly, but her movements faltered. Her own armor cracked as if invisible hands were tearing it apart. Her soldiers watched in horror as their commander, the undefeated general, stumbled like prey. Still, her pride would not let her fall. She roared at her army. "Do not fear. It is only a trick. We will crush them." But her voice broke halfway, her body trembling with weakness. Behind Rian, the machine raised another weapon, missile bay. It opened, humming with energy. The battlefield lit up once more. Alien soldiers cried out, some begging their commander to retreat. Others threw down their weapons, surrendering in fear. Ryan stepped closer to Vera, his calm eyes unshaken. "You wanted to see humanity's strength, Commander. Now you will witness it. Not in words, not in numbers, but in truth." The machine fired again. A storm of fire and thunder. Alien warships in the sky exploded like shattered glass. The Empire's banners burned, their armies scattered. The world itself seemed to tremble in respect to the power unleashed. And through the chaos, Captain Ryan's voice carried, "This is not only a battle. This is a warning. Humanity does not bow. Humanity does not break. Humanity rises." The battlefield was a storm of fire and broken pride. Alien warships fell from the sky like burning meteors. The ground split open where the monster machine walked, its steps leaving craters in the soil. The once proud Empire's army was now scattered like frightened prey. Yet Captain Rian stood calm, his small gun still glowing faintly in his hand. His eyes never left Commander Vera, who struggled to rise from the dirt. Her armor was cracked, her blades flickered weakly with failing energy. Still, her pride burned in her eyes, refusing to bow to a human. "You think one machine will win you this war?" she spat, coughing blood. "You think your hidden toy will shake an empire that has ruled for 1,000 years?" Her voice was broken, but her arrogance tried to survive. Ryan shook his head slowly, his voice quiet but filled with iron. "You still do not see, Commander. The machine is not the only weapon. It is only the beginning." At his words, the ground rumbled again, but not from the giant war machine. This time the sound came from beyond the horizon. The alien soldiers turned, their eyes widening as shadows moved. In the distance, dozens of shapes emerged, massive and dark, each one rising from hidden bunkers buried deep in the planet's soil. The monster was not alone. It was one of many. The Empire soldiers screamed in disbelief. How did the humans build this without us knowing? Their scanners had searched every world. Their spies had watched every colony, but they had never seen this, never imagined humanity could hide such power under their very feet. Vera's heart sank as realization struck. The humans had not been weak. They had not been unprepared. They had been waiting, watching, building in silence. Every time the Empire mocked them, every time they declared humanity a lesser race, the humans had been planting seeds of vengeance beneath the soil. One by one, colossal machines rose into the sky. Their crimson eyes burned like suns. Their cannons glowed with endless energy. The ground shook with their march. The air filled with their voices. Together they roared, a sound not of metal, but of fury, of patience unleashed. The alien soldiers dropped their weapons in terror. Their mighty fleet, their endless armies, looked small before this hidden army of machines. What they had once called prey now revealed itself as a hunter, and the galaxy itself trembled at the sight. Rian raised his small gun high, and the machines froze as if waiting for his command. He turned his eyes toward the alien commander. "This is humanity's answer, Commander. You laughed at one gun, but what you see now is the truth. Every world you claimed, every colony you tried to crush, we built beneath them. We turned your arrogance into our shield." Vera's breath caught in her throat. Her pride shattered as she finally understood the scale of the trap. The Empire had thought humanity powerless, but in their blindness, they had allowed humans to plant war machines across dozens of planets. It was not one monster below. It was an entire legion hidden in silence. Still, her pride screamed inside her chest. No matter how many machines you bring, the Empire does know. Fall, we will call for reinforcements. Our fleets will burn your worlds to ash. But even as she spoke, a low hum filled the skies. Above the battlefield, human warships uncloaked one by one, silent predators that had been waiting just beyond detection. The stars themselves seemed to bend as humanity's fleet revealed itself. Ships black as shadow, lined with weapons that glowed like fire. The alien soldiers fell to their knees, their hope crushed. They had thought themselves rulers of the galaxy. Now they realized they were only children playing at war. Humanity had been silent, but silence was not weakness. It was the calm before the storm. Rian's voice carried across the field like a verdict. "Your empire ends here, Commander. Not because of one machine, not because of one weapon, but because you underestimated us. You laughed when you should have feared. And now the galaxy will learn." The machines raised their cannons in unison, their red glow filling the night sky. The alien soldiers trembled, some begging for mercy, others too broken to move. The mighty Commander Vera stared at Ryan, her scales pale, her pride in ruins, and for the first time, she whispered words she had never spoken in her life. "Perhaps we were wrong." But Ryan did not smile. He knew this was only the beginning. The Empire was vast, but humanity's vengeance was larger. The galaxy would soon witness what it meant to push humanity too far. The war machines roared once more, their voices echoing like thunder across the stars. and every being who heard them understood. The true monster below had finally awakened. Alien soldiers wept in disbelief. Some threw down their rifles. Others screamed to the heavens. For centuries they had been told humans were fragile, clumsy, unworthy of empire. But now they saw humans command monsters of steel that no alien science could match. The laughter they had once filled the battlefield had turned into silence, a silence heavier than death. Commander Vera staggered to her feet, her armor broken, her scales pale. Her forearms shook as she pointed her blades toward Rian. "You think this makes you strong, human? You think your machines make you gods?" she roared. Her voice was filled with anger, but fear cracked through every word. Rian stood still, the small gun glowing faintly in his hand. His soldiers behind him were no longer afraid. Their eyes shone with hope and fury. They knew now that humanity had not been weak. It had been patient, and patience, when armed, was more terrifying than any empire. Ryan's voice was calm but unyielding. "Strength is not given, Commander. Strength is built in silence. You mocked what you did not understand. You forced us to hide, to endure, to prepare, and now you will see the price of your arrogance." The machines behind him moved as one, their giant frames shaking the ground with every step. Each movement sent terror flooding into alien hearts. The Empire's soldiers fired desperately, plasma bolts streaking through the air, but every shot splashed harmlessly against the armor of the machines. The monsters below were not just weapons, they were fortresses, each one a world of steel. Suddenly, the skies ripped open. A vast alien fleet emerged from hyperspace, their ships shining like blades of silver. Reinforcements had come, thousands of warships filling the stars with light. The Empire had answered the call, and their fury burned across the void. Alien soldiers cheered weakly, believing salvation had arrived. But Ryan's calm eyes never left the sky. He lifted his small gun, pressed a single button, and the human warships above reformed into a battle line, black and silent. Then, with one command, they unleashed fire. The heavens became a storm. Red beams and missiles tore through the Silver Fleet. Alien ships exploded one after another, their mighty formations breaking apart within minutes. The reinforcements that were meant to crush humanity now burned as wreckage, raining down like broken stars. Vera's jaw trembled as she watched her fleet destroyed, her claws dug into the dirt, her heart torn between rage and despair. This was not war, this was execution. The humans had not simply built weapons, they had built judgment. She screamed at her soldiers, "Fight! Fight to the last breath! Do not surrender!" But many no longer listened. Some fell to their knees, throwing away their blades. Others ran, but the machines did not chase. They simply stood, waiting, as if their silence was enough to kill hope. Rian walked forward slowly, his boots crushing the dirt, his eyes locked on Vera. The alien commander who once laughed now looked smaller than ever before. She tried to raise her blades again, but her arms were weak, her spirit broken. "You call yourself rulers," Rian said, his voice carrying like thunder. "You claim the galaxy. You enslave the weak. You mock the strong. But you forgot one thing. Humans endure. We may bleed, we may fall, but we always rise. And when we rise, we do not come alone. We bring the storm." Behind him, the war machines lifted their cannons in unison. The ground shook with the hum of power. The sky glowed red as human warships aligned their weapons. The alien soldiers knew it then. There was no escape, no victory, no empire. Vera's voice broke into a desperate cry. "This cannot be. Humans are not gods. They cannot destroy an empire in a day." But Rian's reply was cold. "It does not take gods, Commander. It only takes humans with a reason to fight." The machines roared, their voices echoing like thunder through the battlefield. Alien soldiers clutched their heads, their will shattered. The once unbreakable empire now trembled before the storm of mankind, and as the cannons prepared to fire, the galaxy held its breath. For in that moment, everyone watching understood. The true monster was not the machine, not the fleet, not the weapon. The true monster was humanity itself, patient, silent, and unstoppable when pushed too far. The battlefield was no longer a place of war. It had become a graveyard of empires. Alien warships burned in the sky, their wreckage falling like flaming meteors. On the ground, the legion of human war machines stood like silent mountains, their crimson eyes glowing in the smoke. The alien soldiers who once mocked humanity now knelt in fear, their pride crushed under the shadow of the storm. Commander Vera staggered among the ruins, her blades cracked, her armor shattered. She could not believe what her eyes saw. The Empire had never known defeat, and yet here, in one day, in one battle, everything was falling apart. Her soldiers looked to her for strength, but she had none left to give. Captain Rian walked forward with steady steps, the small gun still glowing faintly in his hand. He looked calm, but behind his eyes was fire. Every step he took reminded the aliens that humanity was not broken, not silent, but waiting. And now, humanity had risen. "Commander," he said, his voice carrying across the ruins, "you mocked what you did not understand. You laughed at the small gun, but you never saw the hand that carried it. You never saw the storm it could unleash." Vera's jaw trembled as she forced herself to stand tall, even broken, even defeated. She would not bow. "You may have machines, human," she hissed, "but the Empire is endless. Our fleets stretch across the stars. You cannot win against us all." Ryan raised his weapon slightly, his eyes never leaving hers. "You still don't understand, Commander. This is not about numbers, it is about will. Humanity does not fight to conquer, humanity fights to survive, and when survival is threatened, we will burn galaxies if we must." At his signal, the war machines behind him activated again, their cannons glowing red. The air vibrated with power, the ground shook under their weight. Alien soldiers cried out, many dropping their weapons and begging for mercy. But still, Vera raised her blades. Though her hands shook, she could not allow her people to see her surrender. The sky cracked as another wave of alien reinforcements appeared. Dozens of Empire dreadnoughts warped into orbit, their hulls shining silver. The Empire had sent its strongest fleet, determined to crush the humans once and for all. Alien soldiers cheered faintly at the sight, hope flickering in their broken eyes. But Ryan did not move. He simply looked upward, calm as the void. He pressed a command into his gun, and the human warships above shifted formation. From the shadows of space, more ships uncloaked. Not dozens, not hundreds, but thousands. A hidden armada that stretched across the stars. Every ship silent, every cannon ready, every engine burning with fury. Gasps filled the battlefield. Alien soldiers fell into despair once more. The Empire's reinforcements had arrived, but they were outnumbered, outflanked, outmatched. Humanity had not only hidden monsters under the soil, they had hidden entire fleets in the void, waiting for this very moment. The two armadas faced each other, silence filling the stars. Then, with a single signal from Ryan's gun, the sky erupted. Red beams tore through silver hulls. Explosions thundered across the heavens. The Empire's dreadnoughts burned like paper in fire. Their mighty fleet reduced to wreckage in minutes. Vera fell to her knees, her pride shattered beyond repair. Her soldiers sobbed, their hope crushed as their gods of war were destroyed before their eyes. And in that silence, Ryan's voice carried again. "This is the end of your arrogance, Commander. Not the end of your people, but the end of your pride. You believed yourselves untouchable. Now you see the truth. Humanity is not weak. Humanity is not silent. Humanity is the storm." The war machines lowered their CT. Anons, the battlefield trembling under their power. The alien army had no fight left, no strength to resist. They were broken, not by numbers, not by weapons, but by the will of mankind. Still, Rian stood in silence for a long moment. His soldiers waited, the machines waited, the aliens trembled. Would he give the order to destroy them all? Would he end the Empire in one breath? Finally, his words came, soft but sharper than any blade. "You forced this war, Commander. You mocked us, enslaved us, tried to break us. But even now, I offer you a choice. Leave this world, surrender your claim, and live, or stay, and be buried under the weight of what you have awakened." Vera's eyes widened. Mercy? From the man who commanded monsters? She could not believe it. Her pride screamed to fight, but her heart, her broken army, her fallen fleet, all whispered the same truth. Defeat. She dropped her blades, her hands shaking. Her soldiers followed one by one, their weapons falling into the dust. The Empire had never surrendered before, but here, before one human captain, they had no choice. The battlefield fell into silence, broken only by the hum of the war machines. The monster below had not only destroyed an army, it had forced an empire to kneel. The battlefield lay in silence, alien weapons scattered across the dirt, broken and forgotten. The once proud soldiers of the empire now knelt in the dust, their eyes lowered, their spirits crushed. Above them, the human armada stretched across the stars, black warships glowing red like the eyes of gods, and behind Captain Rian the legion of war machines stood like mountains, silent but alive, waiting for his command. Commander Vira, once a symbol of the Empire's strength, now knelt before him, her armor shattered, her blades fallen. Her pride had been broken, her arrogance burned away in the fire of truth. Yet even in her defeat, her eyes burned with a question. How did you build all this without us knowing?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "How did humans, the weakest of races, rise to summon such monsters?" Ryan's gaze was cold, but there was no joy in his victory. "Because you never looked at us," he said quietly. "You saw humans as prey, as toys, as weak creatures beneath you. And while you laughed, while you enslaved, while you mocked, we endured, we built in silence, we hid in your shadow, and we turned that shadow into our shield. That is why we rise now. That is why you fall." The alien soldiers listened in silence, their hearts struck deeper by his words than by any weapon. They understood now, humanity had not been weak, it had been waiting, and patience, when sharpened into steel, could cut deeper than any blade. Vera's claws dug into the dirt, her voice cracking. "You will destroy us, won't you? You will erase the Empire from the stars." Rian lifted his gun, and for a long moment the battlefield froze. The machines stirred behind him, their cannons glowing. The alien soldiers trembled, ready to die. But instead of firing, he lowered the weapon. "No," he said firmly. "We are not like you, Commander. You build empires on fear, on slavery, on arrogance. We do not seek to rule the stars. We only seek to survive. But when survival is threatened, we fight, and when we fight, we do not stop until our enemy understands. You understand now." The silence deepened, broken only by the hum of the giant machines. Vera looked at him with disbelief. "You would let us live?" Rian's eyes narrowed, his voice sharper than any blade. "Live, yes, but never forget. You laughed at our small gun. You thought it was weakness. You thought it was the end of our strength. But it was only the beginning. The galaxy will remember this day. The Empire will remember. Humanity may be silent, but when it rises like thunder." His soldiers stood taller, their eyes filled with pride. They had survived humiliation. They had endured centuries of mockery. Now, they were no longer the prey. They were the storm that broke predators. The alien soldiers, one by one, lowered their heads. The Empire had never bowed before, but now, under the shadow of human strength, they bent their knees. It was not a surrender of bodies, it was a surrender of pride. The galaxy itself seemed to tremble at the shift. Above, the human armada drifted like dark guardians. The wreckage of alien fleets burned as proof that the old order was broken. And across the stars, whispers would spread, whispers of the day when humans revealed the monster below, the day when silence became fire and weakness became vengeance. Ryan turned to his men, his voice calm but filled with weight. "This battle is over, but the war is not. The Empire will try again, others will come, but let them come. We will not hide anymore. We will not bow anymore. The galaxy will learn. Humanity does not break." The war machines behind him roared in unison, their voices echoing like thunder. The sound carried across the battlefield, across the planet, and into the stars. Every soldier, human and alien, knew in their hearts that the world had changed. The balance of power was broken. The age of human silence was over. Commander Vera looked at him one last time, her pride shattered, her spirit broken. "Perhaps," she whispered, "it was our mistake to laugh." Rian gave her no answer. He turned away, his soldiers following, the machines marching like mountains. The battlefield remained silent behind him. The Empire had fallen, not in fire alone, but in spirit. And as the dust settled, one truth burned brighter than all others. The true monster was not the machines, not the fleet, not the gun. The true monster was humanity itself, patient, silent and unstoppable, and now the galaxy would never forget it.